One of the absolute coolest parts of healing from childhood trauma, in my opinion, is becoming the person that the little you needed in your traumatic childhood. It's very empowering, and it's fascinating because something happened recently in my life where I actually stood in the empowerment of the needs of the little me from childhood. And it was uncomfortable. It was different. It was unknown. It was weird. It was strange. There was a lot of tension, but I still did it. I stayed there. I sat in it. I communicated what it was that I needed. And the fascinating thing was that there was actually an unhealthy reaction from the other person. No names. Boundaries are important here. But the only thing that I'm really exploring here is my own experiences. When you become everything that the little you needed, that's when you really start to dive into self empowerment. The entire journey is a matter of healing, but the empowerment that you didn't have because you were raised in survival is what then becomes present. So, how do you do this? How do you become the person that the little you needed? Well, there's something that was drowned out and numbed out in childhood in survival, and that was your intuition. You were taught not to trust it. You were taught to not listen to it. You were taught that it's bullshit. You were taught that you don't have a voice. You were taught that whatever it is that you needed didn't matter. You were taught a bunch of things that really fucked you up outside of everything that would have been healthy for you. And so you learned to shut down. You learned to appease. You learned to give in to and do things that you didn't want to do. And now what are you doing? You're becoming the version of yourself that you needed. You're becoming as a higher self to your lower self, to not really lower self, but your little self. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just the little you that is now healing, that didn't get what it needed when it was a child. You're becoming that. You're speaking up for your little self. You're speaking out against the things that your little self doesn't like or doesn't want or didn't like or didn't want. You're starting to think, wait a second, just like I said in yesterday's video, I don't like this. I don't want this either. This is not what is natural or authentic for me. This is not congruent with my intuition. I don't want to put up with this. I don't have to put up with this. It's a very empowering experience to become everything that the little you needed in childhood. And one of the biggest reasons why it's so empowering is because nobody else can give that to you. A therapist can maybe help you discover how to achieve it, how to pursue it. There are some people out there that can guide you towards it, but only you can step into the unfamiliar territory that is that space with the little you and being present and being like, oh wow, you got this when what you needed was that, and I'm very well aware of that. And now what I'm going to do is be present with you, with your likes, your dislikes, your wants, your needs. Let's be congruent with not liking the way that Janet just spoke. Just the name, just throwing it out there. No actual thing that happened with so called said Janet. But you didn't like the way that Janet talked to you. Say something about it. You don't like the way that people approach you. Do something about it. Sitting in the uncomfortable energy dynamic, the tension that is present, is absolutely important here. Because the more you do that, the more you hold your boundary there. It's not about proving to other people that, yeah, this is who I am. It's about proving to yourself. It's about showing yourself what it is that you need. It doesn't matter what other people see. I mean, it does in terms of, you know, them respecting you, them being kind to you, them being with you as you communicate. And by the way, let me make it very clear right now that not everyone is going to. There are going to be people that just don't want to treat you the way that you want to be treated because that's just the way that they are. My recommendation is to get them out of your life because they're not healthy individuals. Simple as that. Yes, I have cut people out of my life. It was a bit more challenging years and years ago when I first started doing it, but it's made me stronger. It's made me realize that I do deserve to be treated with kindness. I deserve to be respected. I deserve to be treated how I want to be treated. And it's not absurd. It's not ridiculous. It's not too much to ask. It's not too much space to take up. I'm not making a big deal out of anything. I'm communicating how Chris chooses, desires, and wants to be treated, and I'm not tolerating anything else. I would much rather let go of people that are unwilling to cater to my needs in terms of kindness and respect than try to figure out how to get them to do it, because they're just not going to. If they have any problem in changing how they approach me because how they've previously approached me is disrespectful, that's just the way that they are. And I'm not interested in having any sort of relationship with people like that. It's just the way that it is. So it's actually empowering to become the person that the little you needed in your traumatic childhood. When you were drowning in survival, when you were underwater and trying to breathe, trying to figure out a way to fucking breathe in this survival based dynamic where you pretty much didn't exist. You were so gaslighted and invalidated that were you even real? I don't mean to trigger you when I say that. I don't mean to challenge any reality. I just mean the way that you felt. You probably didn't feel seen. You probably didn't feel heard. You probably didn't feel that your needs were met. And that was the reality of it. And it was that bad. Again, it was that bad. Your fucked up childhood was that bad. Maybe you felt lost. Maybe you started looking in directions that were actually unhealthy because you thought, well, I just can't survive this this way, so I'm just going to have to give in to all of the abuse, and I'm going to have to accept and tolerate the ways that people treat me. And now you're looking at it and you're much more mature and you're like, wait a second, I don't have to do that. I'm not in this survival based childhood with these fucked up dynamics anymore. I can choose myself. I can choose to be present with what it is that I need, what it is that I like, what it is that I want. And everything just starts to transform. But you have to be present with it. Whenever the situation arises, whenever your intuition is like, wait a second, I didn't like that. And what you're used to is just shutting down and staying silent and not communicating what it is that you want and need. You have to get out of that. You have to move into the uncomfortable space of being present with what it is that you actually want. You have to recognize that you are not too much, that you do not take up too much space, that your desire to be respected and treated with kindness is not too much. Some people lack healthy boundaries and they're just treating you the way that they feel about themselves, and that's just the reality of it. Recognizing that is very important. And let me make this very clear. I may have already said it before. Not everybody can meet your needs. One, because they can't even meet their own needs. And two, if you come across anybody that cannot meet your needs, get them the fuck out of your life, because you're going to waste time trying to be like, well, if you could just do this and that, you know, sure, I'll adjust my needs for. No. No. People that have healthy boundaries, that actually care about you and want to be in your life, will adjust. Case in point, no names. Somebody that I know, I said something or about someone that they didn't like, and they communicated to me that they would appreciate it if I didn't say that. What did I do? Adjust. Why? Because I like them and I care about them and I care about having a relationship with them. I have a very hard time adjusting the way that I talk in terms of words like fuck and shit, in terms of expressing something, not verbally attacking anybody. I don't verbally attack people. It's just not the way that I am. I am learning healthier boundaries and I take care of my own shit in a personal, private way. I don't. I do, at least I do the best that I can not to project and put my shit onto other people. But that's what this is all about. It's all about becoming the version of yourself of what you needed in childhood, and how that completely transforms everything. Because it does. When you sit in the empowering dynamic, the energetic dynamic of, I don't like that. I don't like what this person is saying to me. I don't like what they're doing. And I want to be congruent with that. I want to be honest about that. I want better for myself. And I deserve better, no matter what. And if the other person cannot be better for me, then I move on and I leave. And I don't continue anything with that person because I choose me.